is the stop, given the precedents that Donald Trump is setting? What is to stop a Democratic, a Governor Pritzker, a Governor Newsom to say, we have a gun crisis in America, just as legitimate on the facts arguments as a crime crisis, and say, we're going to send the National Guard into states to go get their guns? There have to be standards here.
What is to stop that, Ben?
I mean, I think that, to be fair, the exertion of more power by the executive branch has been an ongoing process for the course of the last 20 years minimum. And you saw the Obama administration declare national emergencies, something like 12 national emergencies under President Obama, something like 9 under Joe Biden. Now you've had President Trump declare a wide variety of national emergencies. This isn't a unilateral problem. I think it is a bilateral problem. With that said, I think that we should separate a few strands here. One is the legal that Eli was talking about. One of the other things here, though, is I think what Van was referring to, which is President Trump does have a habit of wrong-footing his political opponents in a unique way on this sort of stuff. There were 574 murders in Chicago last year. And you can make the argument, I think a plausible argument, that National Guard troops should not be on the ground enforcing crime, both legally and just as a matter of general policy. But if the position you end up taking is that there is no serious crime emergency in Chicago on a rhetorical level, not on a legal level, on a rhetorical level, or you make the case that actually crime in Chicago just isn't that big of a deal, which seems to be the mistake that many Democratic politicians are making right now, Trump is going to win that battle all day long.
I mean, I hear you, but roadway collected more than 500 bags of trash and disposed of 3 truckloads of plant waste. I think that is all great stuff. But the National Guard, at the tune of $1 million a day, because these folks have to be paid, are doing what the Park Service could have done if they had just been given their adequate funding.
And the crime rates are plummeting in Washington, D.C.
I understand
the mayor
that.
of D.C. is thanking the president.
But just to be clear, the National Guard is not doing any of that. The National Guard is not doing any of that. The people doing that are other law enforcement agencies like ICE and Border Patrol.
I'll tell you one thing they're doing.
And
I walked
ATF
around,
and others.
I'll tell you one thing they're doing. I walked around Washington, D.C. all weekend long with my family. I had my entire family there. And we did run into the National Guard. And I'm just going to tell you, having these guys walking around, keeping an eye on things, they were greeting the public. I saw a lot of people walking up to them, thanking them for keeping an eye on Washington, D.C. I think there's something to be said for just having more eyes and ears on the streets. People are less likely to commit crimes in front of 4 or 5 National Guardsmen.
Their visibility is a deterrent, but what happens once you pull them back, right? That doesn't really solve the root of the problem.
And today, Mayor Bowser actually signed an executive order inviting an ongoing federal presence in Washington, D.C., and didn't put an end date on it. I mean, just as Ben said, she has acknowledged that this has worked. Crime has gone down. People are being arrested. Illegal guns are coming off the streets. And there is apparently some cooperation between a Democrat and a Republican administration, which you're not getting a scintilla of out of Illinois, which I think is a political mistake.
Doesn't this show feel like Groundhog Day to you guys sometimes? Because Abby opened that clip up with an argument I know she's made before, the ridiculous slippery slope argument, if Trump sends in federal troops, then someday another president could come in and take away all our guns. It's just not journalism. That psychopath who was talking in that clip, who the hell is he? It's just fear-mongering. And I feel like Ben Shapiro answered so reasonably that the panel was even kind of stunned. I think we all have our own thoughts on Ben Shapiro, but I'll tell you, when this guy just uses logic the way he does, he's unbeatable. He said, look, yeah, you can make a legal argument against bringing in the National Guard, but rhetorically, when Democrats can't even admit the truth that Chicago had 574 murders last year, Trump's going to win every time. People don't like being told what they're seeing right in front of their eyes is wrong. And then Abby, I think, maybe I'm being too critical, in a roundabout way, seemed to mock the National Guard for picking up garbage and beautifying parks. And she's worried about the cost. Since when does their side care about spending? Scott hit back with the obvious that every single American, regardless of party, knows. The Guard's presence is deterring crime. And the kicker? Even freaking Bowser signed an order extending cooperation with federal troops because she admits it's working.